Hello, welcome to the Pop Talk Podcast. I'm your host, Chauncey Julius. Pop Talk Podcast is a podcast that exists solely to eradicate fatherlessness. Our mission is to sharpen, salute, and encourage fathers to do what matters most, and that's to show up for those who matters most. Fatherhood is not a solo sport, it's a team sport. Together, we can eradicate fatherlessness. And so today, I got a special guest for y'all, bro. I got a special guest. It's the homie, DJ CLo from 7th grade. All right. I've been knowing this cat since 7th grade, man. We might get into that story on how we met.
Yeah. That was a funny story.
Hey, crazy story. And so, man, just a little bit about DJ CLo. DJ CLo is a DJ by trade. He is the CEO of nonprofit Kicks for Kids. This is a busy man, y'all. He has an extensive resume. He also was correct me if I'm wrong, CJ, but we call him CJ. He's DJ CLo, but for years we called him CJ, those who are close to him. And so he was a DJ for the Nelly Dirty ENT team there, right?
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken. Okay, cool. And then he was featured. He was featured for all those hip hop heads out there. He was featured as a DJ on BET's Rap City, The Basement. And so, I mean, I think on that episode, T.I. was on that episode. Am I correct?
Yeah.
And so y'all remember how they had
we
the
did about
DJs
3 days
in the back? Yeah, man. This guy's a superstar. He's a celeb, y'all. And so, man, this dude flipped houses. He is a serial entrepreneur. But the reason why we have him on our show today is because he is a dad of 2. His children are adults now, but he is a father of 2. And he's going to come on and just share his story with the Pop Talk community. And so, man, DJ CLo, thank you for just having time to be on the show, man, for real, man. And so, man, before we even get started, man, because, people, they may not make it to the end. Hopefully they do. But if they don't, man, tell people where they can connect with you on social media, bro.
Man, at Entity DJ CLo, so that's ENTITY DJ CLo on Instagram, and then Cedric Smith on Facebook. So I don't really do I don't do Snapchat or all that stuff, but Entity DJ CLo on Instagram and Cedric Smith on Facebook.
Man, so how you been, bro? Just how you doing?
Man,
I know you're busy.
That would be it. If you say how you doing, I would be like busy. But I'm blessed, man. I have no complaints. It's been, it's just been an experience. As you get older and evolve, and you open yourself up to different things, and so it's been learning lessons. So a lot of things that I've been doing, I've been learning from them. They've been good lessons, when you work hard, it pays off. So it's been a blessing, man. I'm definitely blessed more than anything. Blessed and busy. Definitely.
Man, I was talking to some mutual friends of ours, man, and we were talking about how it's funny seeing our high school friends and our childhood day ones blossom and be and transition into who and what they've become in the world, man. And definitely, one of the person that comes to mind is yourself, bro. Like you've not only made a name for yourself, man, but just coming from where we come from, we being transplants to Tennessee, Middle Tennessee, from coming from all over the country, man, and just having dreams and seeing these boys transform into men and accomplish those dreams, man. That's just says a lot. That says a lot about you, bro. And so, man, salute to what you're doing in the community, man. You're doing big things, bro. I want to give you your roses now.
I appreciate that. Thank you, man. Bro. Thank you so much.
And just let's be clear, bro. I'm just not saying that, bro. I want to give you your roses now, and we know the circumstances under which I'm saying that, bro. And so, you're here. We're talking about fatherlessness, man. We're talking about fatherhood. We're talking about the bumps, the scrapes, the triumphs. We're talking about all of that, bro. So
let's dig into it.
Let's dig into it, bro.
Let's get it.
Man, when the word father comes up, what springs to mind for you?
Man, I would probably have to say provider, teacher. You know, a person that provides guidance, a
Yeah.
leader, you know, a leader, you know, nurturer. You know, you have, we as men, sometimes we don't know that we have to realize that we have to nurture, because in us it's
Wow.
always to, you
That's
know, fix
big.
and solve problems. So as you get
Yeah.
older and you tap into what you would call your emotional side, you realize that it's not always about fixing it, you know, because we're fixers. Sometimes you have to listen and nurture,
Yeah.
and just be there. So those are some of the things that jump out to me that I didn't actually have growing up. You know, that I can see myself now if I was to start all over again, trying to hone in on.
Absolutely,
So,
man. Absolutely. Definitely. And so, man, that's the first, man. We've heard provider on the show before. We've even probably heard teacher, I think. But you said nurturer. Can you unpack that a little bit, man? Expound on that.
Yeah, definitely, man. I think that, you know, men, we have to do better at showing the sensitive side. Sometimes you have to dig for it.
See,
you know,
that's why you are who you are, man. You got that Ralph Tresvant about you, bro.
you gotta dig for it. You gotta show some sensitivity, and you know, you have to self-check sometimes. And so, moments where, you know, being a dad, if you're digging to your sensitive side, you know, in reality, when kids fall and hurt themselves, they run to mom, you know, a lot of times, or mom will give them a hug. So, you know, like, you have to, but as men, we have to dig for that. It doesn't mean that you're being soft or too easy on your kids. You know, I say it's situation by situation, you know, but you definitely want to, you definitely want your children to look at you like, yo, if I can't come to mom, I can come to dad. You know, like,
that's powerful, bro. That's powerful. They shouldn't have to pick and choose where they come from, because they know dad is going to be an iron glove, you know, but mom is going to be a velvet glove.
Have some empathy.
So
you know,
we need to be able to be that two-sided glove. I appreciate you for just expounding and giving some insight on why dads need to kind of step up to that nurturer role, a role that's usually or traditionally been reserved for mothers.
It's needed, man. It's definitely needed, you know, because then when your children see it, especially, you know, your sons, then they grow up and know that it's okay, you know, because generational curses you have to break. You know, if as a man you always, you know, rule with the iron fist, you know, as your sons get older, as our sons get older and they have sons, then they only repeat what they were taught, you know, and so, you know, it's one of those things where it allows you to, you know, possibly break some of those generational curses that will help free up and allow your kids to blossom and be comfortable.
That's good, man. That's some rich stuff there. That's good. Yeah. And so you talked about generations, right? And so well, I'm gonna table that question first before I ask that, man. Before I ask that, I want to kind of ask another question, man. Who was your favorite TV dad?
Man, I would probably have to say what everybody would say. I would probably have to say Bill Cosby.
Bill Cosby. Okay.
You know, I would. That's probably the 99% answer. You know, growing up in a Black community, Bill Cosby would probably be, you know, the TV dad, because it wasn't like he was a doctor, and it wasn't like he just spoiled his kids, right? But you know, he was able to teach them lessons by also having fun without, you know, he wasn't like James Evans. Like, James Evans' go-to was always like, let me pull my belt off, right? Right. Yeah. Whereas Bill Cosby's, his was like, oh, I'm going to teach you a lesson. I'm going to show you, Theo, that if you think you can live in this world for $800 a month, I'm going to take it all. And all you have is
Come on now. Probably my favorite episode.
Yeah. He taught him a lesson. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, it's about teaching lessons to help your kids, not always pulling off the belt. So I would probably have to say, you know, Bill Cosby.
That's dope. I could have swore you was going to say Uncle Phil or someone like that nature. Man, this dude, I'm a Dr. Huxtable dad too. I like the Dr. Huxtable dad. That's cool, man. Yeah. And so, man, when we're talking about dads, man, like, in what ways did your dad shape, form, influence you as a person? Talk to us about your. Okay, all right, cool, all right, let's go there. And
yeah.
So, what was your dad's story?
Man, honestly, my story is I'm named after. I'm a junior. I'm actually named after a man that is not actually my dad. I found out that he was not my dad at 16, but he was never around. When you and I were growing up, my
Yeah.
dad, the dad that I thought that I was named after, was in jail. And so there were times where, but I never knew him, so it wasn't like I missed something that I didn't have. I didn't miss him because
Right.
I never knew him. He was gone way before, I could even remember who a dad was. All I knew was there was this guy that was in jail and he would write me. And then it got to a point where I told my mom, I was like, Mom, like, yo, why do I have to come in the summertime and write this person that I don't know and tell him I love him? I don't know him. And then a light bulb clicked off in her head and she was like, you
Wow.
know what? You're right. So that's when it stopped. And then people used to crack jokes. Back when we grew up, man, it was, you crack
Yeah.
jokes. They were like, "Oh, your dad in jail, man. You get hit in jail." Then I was
Oh
like, "Yeah,
Lord,
whatever."
don't drop the
But
soap, bro.
right. But you know what? It didn't bother me because, like, I'm like, yo, I didn't know this dude. Like,
Yeah.
it wasn't like, So I mean, for me, everything that I taught myself, everything about being a man, I had to learn myself. Even when I found out who my
Mm.
real dad was, and I knew who he was, like he was like an uncle to me before I found out who he was. It's like I always knew
Wow.
of my biological dad, but he was like an uncle to me. You know what I'm saying? So when I was spending time with him, I'm like, oh, I'm spending time with my play cousins. Well, these play cousins turned out to be siblings, half siblings. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? So, by the time I was 16 years old, you
So
know what I'm saying?
where was Dad at this time? He was in prison. Where was he serving time?
So I have no idea. I think so. The guy that was not my dad was serving time in jail somewhere, probably in Indiana. My
Okay.
biological dad is in Chicago. I always lived in Chicago, from Chicago,
Right.
like
And
straight
so
Chicago dude.
let's get some clarity on this though.
Okay.
Chicago dude from
Yeah.
Chicago, transplanted
Yeah.
to Middle Tennessee, Columbia,
Yeah.
Tennessee area, for all y'all
Yeah.
Columbians out there that's gonna get
Yeah.
mad at us
Yeah.
because we don't say Columbia. But anyway,
Right.
and so you're writing letters to a guy that's in jail that you thought was your father, but turned
Yeah.
out
Yeah.
not to be your dad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, this is news for me. And
Yeah.
we've been knowing
Yeah.
each other for over
Just, yeah.
25
Like.
years,
Yeah.
since
Yeah.
seventh grade.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
wow, this is crazy. And so you're writing letters and you're saying, Mom, why am I having to write letters to this guy in
Yeah.
prison?
Yeah. Like she would call me up for playing kickball. Like I'm out playing kickball. This is even before
Right,
Tennessee. Like I would,
right.
she would call me like, yo, come in. Yeah, he wrote you a letter. Go ahead and write him back. And I think a lot of that was her making me try to build up my
Your
manuscript and
penmanship,
writing.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But it got to a point where I was like, yo, like I don't like. I remember saying it like, yo, I don't. Why do I got to tell him? Why am I saying I love you? I don't know him. And at that
Mm,
point in time, like, I don't think that I knew what he was in jail for. He did something really bad to somebody close to our family, like really
right.
bad, like
Oh, wow.
manslaughter. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
Just put it
wow.
out there. And so yeah, and so my mom was there when it happened, and so but I was a baby at the time. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I didn't know that. I just knew that when I was a kid, they would be like, "Yo, don't get in trouble because you'll go to a bad place. You'll end up like your pops." You know what I'm saying? You
Right.
don't want to go where he at. That was kind of like that, don't get in trouble. And then, like I said, after finding out, like at 16, I'm like, wait a minute. Y'all was telling me I'm gonna end up like somebody I ain't even
I
related
never
to.
met.
Yeah, I ain't never
Wow.
met, you know what I'm saying? So, you know what I'm saying?
Wow.
Like, but that's the thing. Like when family, people, you just have to understand, like everybody makes a decision in a moment, because of what's going on. Like that's one of those things where like I can't understand what mom was feeling at the time or when she made the choices that she was making because of the situation she was in. It had really
Absolutely.
nothing, it had nothing to do with me, right? It wasn't like, yo, I'm gonna personally try to impact my son. It was more or less like, yo, like these decisions had to be made because of certain circumstances, because as a parent, sometimes we do what we feel we have to do. And
Absolutely.
then they indirectly impact us. But I was blessed with so much love that I realized that, like, yo, I never had a chip on my shoulder. You know what I'm saying? Like I
Right.
didn't grow up with a chip on my shoulder, so because it was so much love, it was like, yo, like it was like, yo, okay. cool. Like, oh,
Right.
what's a dad? You know, now it doesn't mean
Yeah.
that, it doesn't mean that I never drew the house with the picket fence and a man and a woman and a little kid and a dog standing outside,
Wow.
right?
Come on now.
I drew that. I drew that as a kid. That was something that I dreamed of because I saw it on TV or I saw friends with it, but I still never knew what it was like. You know what I'm saying?
And
It was
so
just an idea.
talk about that then.
Yeah.
That void that was
Yeah.
there. Because growing up without a dad, you grew up
Yeah.
fatherless, just for the record.
Yeah.
You grew up
Yeah.
fatherless. You grew up in a single parent
Yeah.
home.
Yeah.
Shout out to Miss Linda.
Yeah, man.
Man,
Yeah.
goodness,
Mom,
man.
yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Was a mom to me in so many
To
different ways. My
everybody.
mom was an
Yeah.
awesome mom. Let's be clear. Deborah
Yeah.
Julius was an awesome mom.
Yeah.
She spent a lot of time in the factory. Like,
Yeah.
my dad had a, substance abuse
Yeah.
issue. And so
Yeah.
my mom stepped up to the plate working 60 plus
Yeah.
hours in a factory. And so I spent a lot of time at your house. Growing up, man.
Yeah.
And man, your mom was a mom to me in many ways, man. It
Yeah.
takes a village, and your mom was definitely part of my village.
Definitely.
I'm forever grateful. And so, but talk to us
it.
about that dad-shaped hole in your heart, man. How did that leave you feeling navigating through, as a kid, through the children years and through the teenage years, and now as a man, as an adult?
I don't think I really noticed it much, man. As a kid, because I had so much going on. Like, I was always out. We was always on the block. Like, you had an older brother, we was in the neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? So it was like I didn't want to be in the house. No way. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, I'm hanging with the big homies and hearing stuff and learning stuff.
We're everywhere.
I didn't really notice it, right? Like I didn't notice it until maybe, oh, okay, if mom is struggling, you know what I'm saying? Like, dang, if she has some help, that would be, but I really didn't, it wasn't really a void. I didn't really feel a void, I think, until I got to be, in my mid 20s or got close to my 30s, and I started to wonder, like, yo, what am I gonna do with my life? You know what I'm saying? Like, I started to feel certain things and worry about certain things, whether it be like, yo, like what's gonna be my career, or how do I do this, or if I was dating somebody at the time and wanted to get married, like, oh, who do I talk to?
Who do I talk? Yeah.
What man do I talk, like, because a woman's idea of marriage and what she looks forward to might be totally different. So who do I talk to? And then,
absolutely,
and to actually be just vulnerable and talk to. So I think it was then when I kind of started to truly, like, feel that void. I would reach out to my uncle sometimes about certain things.
And so let's talk about that. What are some dads that were in the community?
Like Big Mike's pops, you know what I'm saying? Cal's dad. Cal's dad.
Come on. I was hoping you would say that.
Cal's dad was really probably one of the few, you know what I'm saying?
Who's a doctor now? Kyle is now a doctor. Let's be clear. Shout out to Dr. Boone.
Boone, So his dad is one that really sticks out. You know what I'm saying?
I agree. He was in the military.
Yeah.
His wife, Kyle's mom, was a pastor. Yeah.
But his dad was also hilarious. Like, his dad was funny. His dad was down to earth. You know what I'm saying? So it was, that was cool. Like I said, even Big Mike's pop, Mr. Green, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Mr. Green.
Right. Yeah, like, he was cool.
He was like, really cool.
But I mean, I don't really think it. Go ahead.
Like, okay, so, like, the situation with my dad, he was out there in the streets, he struggled with crack cocaine addiction.
Yeah.
And so I found myself gravitating to the Mr. Boones, to the Mr. Greens, our friends of ours who had their dads at home. Right. Would you say the same thing? Did you find yourself just like spending extra time at Kyle's house?
Yeah. I used to like being over Cal's. I would hate when they would let me eat dinner. My mom would be like, yo, you ate over there twice this week. Come home. You know what I'm saying? Like, Like, they would eat cooler stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like I had my first bowl of dirty rice at Cal's house. I was like, dirty rice? Like, this is rice with hamburger meat? Like, this is great. As a teenager, like, yo, mom, what make, you know what I'm saying? So, or they would eat like, breakfast at night. Like, it would be, I'm like, yo, I want, you know what I'm saying? So But of course, it's two people in the household. You know what I'm saying? So
Mm-hmm.
you had a little bit more help. Whereas, when mom got off work, she might have been tired. Not that she didn't cook, and she did the best she could, but it was just being around a unit where it was like, yo, this is cool. You know what I'm saying? This is
Yeah,
cool. This is
man.
cool.
Kyle's house felt like home.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah,
shout out to
yeah,
Pastor Boone. Shout out to
yeah,
Mr. Boone and
yeah,
Dr. Boone,
yeah,
man. I hope y'all see this,
yeah,
man. Man, thank y'all
definitely.
for just providing that space for a
Yeah,
lot of
yeah,
young men. And so,
yeah,
man, speaking of fatherhood, telling
yeah,
your experience without a dad, let's talk about how you became a dad. And so
yeah.
was it planned? Was it something that you always wanted to be? Did it catch you off guard? Was it unplanned? Like talk to us about your experience of becoming a dad, no steps leading up to.
Yeah. Man, it was not planned at all, becoming a dad. As a matter of fact, I didn't even believe that. I don't even know what I believe. I think that from the neighborhood, growing up, and I started to write this manuscript. I think we spoke about this before. Like growing up in the neighborhood, like the homies would be like, yo, man, yo, just get you some, bro. It don't matter what she look like. Oh, you scared of it? Like, you better get that. You know what I'm saying? So when you
Hey,
hearing that constantly, right? Like there's no balance. There's no balance to like having a dad at home saying, hey, yo, I know your hormones are off the chain right now, but yo, slow it down. Or you just get you
yeah.
one girlfriend. So it was like, yo, tag anything you could tag. You know what I'm saying? So for me,
Mm,
for me, like I didn't have a job when I first started, being sexually active. I'm like, who I'm gonna go to and say, hey, let me buy me some condoms. Like I'm gonna go to my
yeah.
mama? Like, no, like why would I do that? You know what I'm saying? So at that point, being a teenage dad, it happened because again, like, I'm out here, I'm like, yo, all right, I'm in the mix, but
So you
I ain't,
became a dad as a teenager.
yeah, yeah,
How old were
yeah.
you?
Like 16.
I know this, but
Yeah, yeah,
our
yeah.
audience don't know it. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah,
And so
yeah.
how old were you?
16. Yeah,
16.
16. Yeah, 16 years old.
Wow.
And yeah, it was a trip because like I didn't the first go round, it was like it was a crazy situation. It was like, yo, 8 months in and like, oh, like I'm at the mall buying sneakers, like, and I get a call like and mom was like, yo, you need to get home. And I'm like, what? Like, and I'm like, she was like, yo, this is a situation. I'm like, when? I ain't even been around this person since like
Right. Right.
7 months ago. Like that was a one-time situation. And they was like, how? I'm like, how? They was like, yo, she didn't know. She found out like 2 weeks ago. And then 2 weeks later, you
Mm.
know, and then I still didn't stop. It was like, oh, okay, yeah, that situation happened, and I'm like, like I was wild, and it was like, yo, like, but I knew that I never wanted to like have like multiple baby mamas or nothing like that.
Right.
Like for like, I never wanted to be like that. I think for me, I wasn't really mature enough to connect it. Like, yo, what you doing? It
Mhm.
takes a lot of responsibility. You know what I'm saying? And like even
Right.
for me, when I found out my son like was sexually active, like as a teenager, I wasn't happy. Like
Mm.
most dads would be like, "Yo, like word, like you got your little piece, like word." Like no, I was like, "Dad," because I knew that what comes along with it. There's a great responsibility
Come on now.
when
Yeah.
you're at that age and you start engaging, in having sex as a teenager, there's a great responsibility. There's a lot of emotions, and a lot of times there's not the right level of maturity to
Hmm.
handle everything that comes along. In those situations, I was like when I found out about my son, I was like, yo, man, like, yeah, I wish you had waited, bro. Like
Wow.
I wasn't like because I
How
understood
did
where I
how did
came
that
from.
sound coming out of your mouth? How when you because you're going back to when you were
Yeah,
16, you're going
yeah,
back, you're looking over your experience and then
yeah,
you're hearing that your son is sexually active, and then you're
yeah.
saying, man, I wish you would have waited.
Yeah,
How
you
did
know
he
what?
take that?
I mean, he took it like, huh? Like
Mm,
you, you know what I'm saying? But it's the maturity level behind it. Like when you mature and you really understand, like you know, because again, like I've been 15, 16, you know what I'm saying, before. Just like I just like y'all, I've been 24, you hadn't been my age yet, you know what I'm saying? So once you go through things and you already experience them, you know, like, yo, it's the same thing, you know, like, and he's gone through some of the same things. You know, so you just know. So it's more or less like, it wasn't the fact that, you know, I didn't think it's natural, or, you know, I don't think that he has hormones that he's gonna want to have those experiences. It was just like, man, like I it's a lot that comes along with that. You
And
know what
that's
I'm
where
saying?
that definition for dad comes in, where you say, man, dad is a teacher, right?
Yeah, like
And
to create that balance, right?
yeah,
Like, you know what I'm saying? Because the homie's gonna be like, word, that's what you did? Yo, you hey, keep going,
high
boy.
five.
Like high
Hey,
five, right. And
definitely,
yeah, and I'm looking at you like, like, yeah, I ain't mad at you, but you know, like I wish that I wish you would have slowed it down, because like, bro, what you've been to open up, you know, you like you a man, you got hormones. So once you start, you don't stop. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
So
You can't put the toothpaste back in the bottle.
yeah, it's done.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you know, you know what come along with it. So yeah.
Man. Is it difficult to be a good father?
Yeah, man, I sucked at it like in the beginning. Like I'm very honest. Like, you know, it is for a lot of different reasons, especially when you're young. You know, when you're young, you know, as individuals, we are selfish. We want what we want. You know, when you're young, you like, yo, dang, am I gonna buy some diapers or some sneakers? Am I going to the club tonight, or do I want to stay home and like you hear people be like, man, I got to babysit my kid tonight. What you mean you got to babysit your kid? That's your kid. How you babysit your kid? You know what I'm saying? But when you young, right? Like, and it's mainly, you know, because men really aren't always custodial parents. We kind of get the easier, you know, like, and I ain't trying to
the
step on
courts
my
usually,
home, but yeah, like I ain't trying to step on no toes, but that's just the reality of it. Men aren't usually the custodial parents. Men are usually, especially if you're not married, the kid is typically with the mom. So we don't carry as much of the burden of the responsibility.
the day-to-day
You know, the
responsibility.
day-to-day, right. You know what I'm saying? So when you're not in a day-to-day routine of something and you don't carry that responsibility, it's hard to jump in and automatically know what to do. You know
Come
what
on
I'm
now.
saying? Because, you know, it's not necessarily, you don't necessarily have the motherly instinct. You didn't carry the baby for 9 months. You know what I'm saying? You know,
So
so
that
I mean,
bond isn't there. We have to work
so
at
we have to
establishing
work
that
to get
bond
that
if you
bond.
don't have those day-to-day.
If you don't have, you know, so it's not easy. You know, and then again, like you know, most of you try to get your kids to relate to you. You know, it's like you may have a son, your son, you be like, come on, man, let's go. And he's like, no, I want to watch TV with mommy. He's like, yo, I'm gonna go play ball. Like, no, I'm gonna watch TV with mommy. And if you got a daughter, you know, like, yo, I want to hang with mommy too. So you like, man, like you struggling as a dad, like, yo, like how do I'm trying to relate to my kids.
How do
You
I
know, like
establish
how
this
do I
bond?
this bond and relate? Sometimes it gets frustrating. You just like, oh, forget it. You know what I'm saying? But like you go through that. Like, so I mean, I would say that I shouldn't say that. I don't want to say it's hard. Like, it's work. You definitely have to put in work.
I
You
like
have to
that.
be
I
cognizant.
like that.
It's work. I don't want to say it's hard. I definitely think that you know, you have to put in work. And if it's something that you didn't grow up around, you know, you definitely you have to learn. You know, you learn day by day. You know what I'm saying? If it's something that you didn't, you know, if you didn't grow up learning and didn't have a dad to teach you and show you, then really it's like you stepping into uncharted waters and you're like, all right, I'm gonna do the best I can. You know?
Absolutely. When would you say you hit your sweet spot in fatherhood?
Man, you know,
or did you ever hit your sweet spot in fatherhood?
I would say I probably hit it probably in my mid to late mid to late 20s. You know, you hit that.
How old are your children at this time?
So I think my son, he's probably, you know, 11. 11, 12, you know what I'm saying? Like when he thought I was really cool, you know, like he thought I was cool and stuff like that, you know, and then, you know, so like that's when it was like really cool. Like,
but let's for the record, you are a cool guy. You're like,
you know,
you're like the Diddy of Nashville, bro. Like, let's be clear. Like,
but you know what? To him, I'm just dad. So like he'd be like,
that's dope.
And but you know, like that's the part that like that's the part that I like, y'all, like, bro, you don't realize who your pops is. Like you don't realize that I'm only Yeah, you don't realize I'm only 17 years older than you. Like, I can still run with you, and I know everything you know. Like, you better tap in. You know what I'm saying? But then you know, he like, nah, man, I got it on my own. I'm gonna do it. You know? Okay.
Okay.
Hey, yo, tune in next week for part 2 of our discussion with DJ CLo. You don't want to miss it. Here's a sneak peek.
What was a defining moment in your fatherhood experience, man, which was like a clear line in the sand, like, okay, going forward, things are going to be different. What was that defining moment for you?
You know, man, I think when I woke up and I said, I want to break the generational curse, right? I woke up one day and I thought about it. Wait a minute. I was like, I didn't find out who my real dad was until I was 16. You know, we didn't have a relationship. And I was like, yo, like, I want to do better.
Again, fathers, if you want to see more fatherhood videos that sharpen, salute, and encourage you to show up for who matters most in your life, be sure to click that subscribe button down below and turn on your post notifications so you can keep up. I know you got a million, about 11 channels that you subscribe to, but click that bell and then you can keep up with the latest and greatest over there at Pop Talk. Again, this is your boy Chauncey, encouraging you to show up for who matters most in your life. Till next time, peace.